I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. And I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. Fire in the veins, I fight to gain, breaking all the rules to keep me sane. Living the moment till I die. And I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. And I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. No matter how hard we
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a brand new episode of 4th and 10U. I got my best of best friends, Mike on the mic, and we got a special guest in the back. Mike, are you excited?
It's nice to see his face every now and then.
Okay. It's just nice to see his face now and then. Okay, well, we have a special guest in the back. But before we start, and before I introduce that person, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, turn on the notification bell. We got a special episode. It's the on and only mock draft here at 4th and 10U. We're going to be talking NFL mock drafts. We're going to be talking about college players, what teams that we expect them to go to, how they fit. We got a lot to talk about, right? But make sure you hit that like button while you're at it. Without ado, this man, I will say, is close to Mike. Very, very close to Mike. Or would you like to introduce the man? Mike?
I mean, I'm eager to see what you have to say. Let's do the cleat fits first.
Let's do the what first? I'm sorry?
Does the cleat fit?
Oh, that's true. Okay, we can definitely do that. Does the cleat fit? That is the question. Today is April 2nd. Technically, this started yesterday, but let's go ahead and actually talk about this. It's officially Autism Awareness Month, right? The month of April is Autism Awareness, right? And with that, you know why we do this. We shout out to different charities or causes because it is good for the soul. It's good. Everybody needs help. In this day and age, everybody needs a little something. Let it be access to a certain funding that they need because they're having problems at home, or let it be, maybe somebody that could really need someone to talk to. It could be various different things. This month, we're talking autism. And let me fix this for you, Mike, because I know that might be a little bit annoying. No, that's not the right one. Which one do we want? Actually, hold on.
Hey, half my face is cool.
Half your face is cool. I had it figured out earlier. No, that's not the one I want. Where is it?
Wouldn't be 4th and 10U without technical difficulties.
Yeah, I know it wouldn't, right? I had this all figured out earlier. There we go. That's the one. That's the one. I had clicked this and it didn't do what it was supposed to do. So gotta love StreamYard. Anyway, that being said, let's actually talk about Autism Awareness Month, right? On this episode, we are going to actually shout out to autismspeaks.org. If you don't know, autismspeaks.org, you can go to autismspeaks.org, to check them out. Their vision is a world where all people with autism can reach their full potential. Autism Speaks is enhancing lives today and accelerating a spectrum of solutions for tomorrow. Their mission is dedicated to creating a inclusive world of all individuals with autism throughout their lifespan. We do this through advocacy, they say. Services service supports research, innovation, and advancing care for autistic individuals and their families. They ensure access to reliable information and services across their lifespan. They support research and innovation that drives towards improved quality of life and well-being for individuals with autism throughout their lives. They leverage their assets through advocacy, partnership, collaboration to support, extend, and convene the convene the work of service providers. They accelerate delivery of solutions for adult quality of life needs, including transition, employment, housing, and health and wellness. They live and promote principles of diversity, equality, and access and inclusion both in and outside of their organization. Right? So these are some of the things that they do. That is their mission. If you want to find out more, again, you can go to autismspeaks.org so you can learn how to donate, get involved, find out about their events, find out what services they provide, help information, all of those different things, right? Maybe you have a loved one at home that is autistic, or maybe you have a friend that may be autistic. I know of several people that have autism. I have a family member of mine that is autistic, and I can tell you, that I understand how sometimes it can be difficult, depending on the level of the spectrum they're on. Right? I know it can be difficult not just for them themselves, but also for their caregivers. Right? And a lot of these causes that we promote, they have services for their families and the caregivers of those individuals. So definitely shout out to them. Mike, do you have anything to say before I play this quick message from Autism Speaks?
Let's play the video. Let's play the video and then I'll finish it up.
All right. And gotta love this.
Imagine a world where the word impossible doesn't exist.
A future where autistic adults don't just get by, they thrive.
Where every barrier and health screening, diagnose, and care is met head-on and broken down with real solutions.
We're not waiting for change. We're making it happen.
The next 20 years are about doing more. Fearlessly pushing limits,
raising the bar so every autistic person can live healthier,
work smarter,
and feel more connected.
This isn't a dream, it's real, it's now.
And it starts with us, all of us.
Together we can extend lives, create opportunities, and build communities
where every autistic person
has a place.
All right. Again, definitely go to autismspeaks.org, find out more, and you can donate. Mike, go ahead and finish it up.
So, for those of you that don't know, I have 3 little girls. I have twins that'll be 6 the day after Easter. And when they were 18 months, I was in the full Defense tailgate. I was doing 2 shows a week on every live episode, had dropped the mic, open mic, all that. And when I left the Finn's Tailgate is because we got a results back from a evaluation that we put the twins through. and they were both deemed to be what's called NCEA, which is non-categorical early childhood autism. And so that's when I pulled back, because I had to learn how to be a dad again. I have an older daughter, but being a dad for autistic children is completely different. And what I want to say is that for people who don't know, autism spectrum, think of it as a pie chart, and it has different categories of need. It's not you're either more autistic or less autistic. It's just on this pie chart you have needs in different areas, whether it's occupational, whether it's speech therapy, whatever it may be. And so, for me personally, being a dad and a single dad of autistic children, um, the two things I can say the most, and I'll just keep it to two. I'll try to keep it short. The first thing is, you never know who you are until your children start to develop, and with the I don't want to say difficulties, but with the challenges that they face. One of them is nonverbal. She speaks, but it's not a whole lot. She doesn't know how to describe her feelings. She doesn't know how to explain her emotions. She knows words, but it's not very many. The other one, she's the polar opposite. She deals with the emotional side of it. She deals with the transition, the change, difficulty with change, and things like that. But the number one thing I want you to everybody to realize is that autism is not yes, it's a special need, and yes, the world and society sees it as a deficiency, but all autism does is the children that are on the spectrum, man, they love better than anybody else. When they get comfortable with you, there's nobody else in the world is going to love you more than they will. And the milestones and the different levels that they get to reach in life, man, they're so much more exciting. It's one thing for just having a neurotypical child who is able to achieve milestones in an early life, but when it comes to autism, man, those milestones need to be celebrated. And as a dad of autistic children, and two of them at that, but one on each side of the spectrum, I mean, they split it right down the middle. Just bringing awareness to it is something that I'm passionate about. I lead special needs small groups at my church, and I try to reach out to special needs families. And it's one thing to have children, but as Autism Speaks does a really good job of showing you, is that there's adults too that maybe feel left out, maybe feel like they don't have a place because they don't know how to communicate as well as others, or they don't know how to process as well as others. But it doesn't mean they're not smart. Autistic people are some of the smartest people in the world, and you just have to give them a chance. And so, but for me personally, being a dad of autistic children, and one of my twins, she in the school system, she has graduated from the autism spectrum. She no longer qualifies on it because she has learned how to self-regulate her emotions. She's learned how to self-regulate the changes that you go through the daily at school. And so it's really neat for her. She's in general ed classes and she's killing it. She's super smart. She has made incredible progress, and her sister has too. It's just in different areas. Her sister's made incredible progress in math. She's made incredible progress with being able to control her temper, her emotions, and her anger. She just doesn't know how to speak as well as her sister does, but they complement each other so well. But when it comes to autism, I'm a huge advocate for it, for autism awareness, because I do think that especially with me growing up, it wasn't really talked about as much. It wasn't really a known condition or a known brain condition, or whatever you want to call it. Now it's called neurodivergent or neurotypical, whatever you want to place it as. But when it comes to autism, I really do think that just spreading awareness for the beauty of autism is something that I have a strong passion for, because there is so much more beauty. I wouldn't have the joy I have in life without my kids really being able to celebrate their milestones and their achievements more, because they do have a more difficult path than other kids. But it doesn't mean that their path, like Autism Speaks said, it doesn't mean their path is impossible. It just requires work. It requires dedication to really paying attention to the details and what makes them tick, and what makes them how they will grow throughout life, and being able to set them up for success later on. And I commend all the schools out there that really dedicate their departments to helping these children. And then when it comes to adults, the organizations out there, and one of the ones that I do want to bring up is Autism of the Seas. It's an organization that allows families with autistic children to experience a cruise, to where they have all these experts and people that volunteer to come on the cruise with you, that will take care of the kids while the adults and the parents get to enjoy their time. And so there's so many different organizations out there that truly dedicate their entire time and efforts toward autism community. And so, but me personally, being we call it an awesome father. It's AUSOME. Awesome twins, which are autistic twins. One of my favorite words in the dictionary is awesome. So it was really cool for me to find that. And one thing I want to share with people, this is the last thing, and I'll finish this up, and then we'll get going. But I read a letter shortly after we had found out that the girls were definitely on the spectrum, and it was called "Welcome to Holland." And I'm sorry, I forget the author's name, but the letter changed my life, and it helped me move forward and change my mindset. Because one of the things that happens as parents when you find out that your children may be autistic, or if they are autistic, is you start to grieve normalcy. You start to grieve what life would have looked like if they weren't autistic, because you have this idea in your head of how to raise children. You have this idea in your head of how to to lead a family as a dad when it comes to children. But once I found out, and my ex-wife and I found out that the girls were autistic, yeah, I sat in it for a couple of days, not really understanding the weight of it. I knew it was there because I was doing, we were doing so good with our oldest, and she was, she was easy by all metrics. And so when we weren't able to figure out what was going on, or how to help or really assist our twins, it was different. But I read a letter, and it was called "Welcome to Holland." And the summary of the letter is that when you're a kid and you start envisioning having a family and getting married and having kids, and you rely on your parents and your aunts and your uncles and your brothers and sisters, and what everybody says about how it looks. And so it's almost like you start planning a trip, and you plan a trip to Paris. And all of a lot of your friends and family have been there already by the time you get there. So for people who get to go to Paris, it's almost like it's a generalized idea of what a family life looks like. Well, when you get on the plane the night before you're supposed to go to Paris, and it's an overnight flight, you close your eyes and you're at peace, because you're on the way to Paris when you're expecting kids, or when you're about to get married, or whatever it may be. But when you wake up, you open your eyes and you realize that, oh, hang on a second, I'm not in Paris. And when you look around, it doesn't look anything like Paris. It doesn't look anything like you've been told your whole life. It doesn't look anything like your dreams that you had of what a family life would look like. And so you have two choices right then. You can either be really upset and jealous that everybody you know, or everybody you may know around you, is in Paris, or you can look around and realize that you're in Holland. And all the people that made it to Paris, they don't get to go to Holland. And it doesn't mean Holland's not beautiful. Holland has its own beauty. But just because you didn't get to go to Paris doesn't mean you can't make the most out of your trip to Holland. And so it was just a mindset switch of realizing that I had this idea of how to raise kids. I had this, when you become a parent, you're not prepared for it. You don't understand what it's going to take. You can make all the plans in the world, and they don't really happen. But when I woke up that week, I realized that just because life looks different, just because I'm not in France, just because I'm not where I thought I would be, doesn't mean there isn't beauty around me. And so that letter is called "Welcome to Holland." It really just helped me switch my mindset and really dedicate everything I had at that point to being a better dad, and learning how to be a dad, the best dad I could be for the twins, and including my oldest, because I didn't want to put more effort into the twins and leave her hanging dry on the side. It was more about making sure that life included everybody, and the inclusivity of doing activities, and not taking the girls as, because they're autistic, we can't do this. It was just learning how to do it with them. And so I truly have a heart for autism. I truly have a heart for the autism community, and I'm really excited. I love April every year because of the really this community of the United States of America, and really the world, really dedicates its efforts to spread an awareness of autism.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Mike, you're a very inspirational person, right? And what I mean by that is you and I have had conversations, specifically around autism and how you would deal with that. And you know some of the background of my personal story and what's going on in my life right now. Um, so because of you and some of the things that you have said, you have really lifted my spirits up, to know that I'm not in some dark tunnel falling, if you know what I mean. There's definitely bright, sparkly lights, neon lights at the end of the tunnel. I mean, I'm telling you, you've really made me feel that way, talking it through and everything. Because I know when you have to deal with things like this, especially things that you don't understand, you tend to maybe want to blame yourself. You know what I mean? Not you specifically in your story, but that was kind of what I was dealing with a little bit. And I know there's others that deal with similar things. And I think that sometimes you need someone like yourself to tell your story. And I applaud you for doing that and going into detail about it. I can tell you it does wonders for a lot of people. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. And that's my life goal, is just to bring light to the fact that just because autism may be in your family, it's not the end of the world. It's the beginning of a new world. So, anyways, but hey, we got a special guest in the back, and I've
Yeah,
said
we
enough
can wait
about
for
him in
Mike.
my lifetime. So I want to hear what you have to say about him, and then we can bring him on up.
All right. Well, I will be frank and honest. I do not know this man that well. But what I have gathered from voices of throughout the other TFTG corners of our network, as well as voices on the internet, are telling me this man is wild. He is fast talker. He is the man that runs so fast, talks so fast that he can drink 5 drinks before you even get one sip in, right? The man, the legend, Bullet Bob. What is up, Mr. Bullet Bob? No, I'm just kidding. How's it going, sir? Welcome to the show.
It's going just fine.
Glad to have you here. Are you excited? This is our official mock draft. What are your thoughts on this year's draft, if any? Like, do you have any initial thoughts already?
Yeah, reading a lot of stuff. I read every day about it, what I can here and there. But I agreed with you, something you said earlier before we started the show, that I think there's going to be some trades. I think some people somebody's going to be gone. They're going to say, you know what, who we want is not here, so let's trade down and pick up some more picks.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to happen. I think Cam Ward's going to be the number 1 pick. I think Tennessee Titans are going to go get him because Will Levis is not it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
And I told Mike here that one thing I love about Cam Ward is he's just so calm. If you watch him this year, he does not panic in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't panic at all. He stays calm. He just like he knows where everybody's coming from. But that's about the only thing that I can say about him that I really like, because otherwise he's got a lot to learn. Stuff's a lot faster in the NFL.
That is definitely true. Mike, what do you think about the NFL draft coming up? Like, do you have any thoughts?
I mean, I'm eager to see how many trades there are. Is Dallas going to try and move up? Are the Giants going to try and move up? Is Cleveland going to move down? If they don't, I don't know. I'm eager to see what happens in the later picks of the first round, especially. What does Kansas City do? What does Buffalo do? What does Baltimore do? They seem to be a player away. Kansas City was on the verge of a three-peat, and then in comes Philly. And Philly's young, and they've got a ridiculous core. And it's just, I don't like Sirianni. He's a heck of a coach. They don't have many weaknesses. So who's going to fall to them at 32? Who's Kansas City going to take at 31? Are they going to try and get the heir apparent to Travis Kelce? They're going to try and shore up their offensive line. I'm really eager to see what Baltimore does. Are they going to go get a safety to pair next to Kyle Hamilton, who is probably one of the top 4 or 5 safeties in the NFL now after last season? But more than anything, I'm really excited to see how many trades there are, because I think we could see not necessarily trade backs, which I think is going to happen, but I'm eager to see the teams that are aggressive and want to move up and who they're going to get, because I as the first round may not be as loaded as in the past, but the first round of this draft and in the second round and even the third round, it loaded with depth. There's so much quality talent in this draft at every position. Even the quarterbacks. So there's 6, maybe 7 quarterbacks that could be starting by year 3. There's probably 7 running backs that could be starting year 1 or 2 or playing a pivotal role. The wide receiver group is massive. The defensive edge, it's massive. The offensive line, regardless if you think they can be tackles or not, the offensive line class is loaded. I mean, there's some really good depth in this draft, so I'm excited to see how it all plays out.
So you took a little bit of my thunder, but that's perfectly fine. I think that this draft is very, very hard to predict outside of the top 5. The reason for that, like you said, there's so much depth up and down this draft. Like there's so many great talent. You can't fit all of them into 32 picks, unfortunately. So you're going to have people that may fall into the second or even the third round that you didn't really expect, that really graded out as a first round talent, to be honest. I can tell you that I do think this first round is going to have picks that are going to surprise people. Like where I think they're going one way, they're going a different way, right? I do think there will be one trade, even though we're not doing trades today. I think there's going to be one trade possibly in the top 10 for sure. I think there's going to be one trade. And it could involve a top 5 team trading down. That's kind of what I'm thinking that's going to happen. It'll be very interesting where players go. I'm interested on the 2 top safeties, where they land. I'm interested in the 2 top corners, where they land for obvious reasons. We'll get into that at certain picks. The quarterbacks, I think, is going to be the story here. I think that's what it's going to come down to. How many quarterbacks go in the first round? What surprises do we see with players that are not getting the love, but they get drafted over people that you like? What are you talking about? That there's some names. We'll bring it up as we go along. But yeah, that's going to be the interesting thing. One question for Bullet Bob before we start. Does your 430-pound defensive tackle from Florida get drafted?
Why not?
464 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. He gained some weight. 464 pounds. I'm sorry.
And he runs under a 640.
Yeah.
And he can bench press 225 pounds 39 times. The man is a beast. But I tell you what, since they left the tush push in place, don't you want him pushing that quarterback from behind?
No, I mean I want him on the defensive line pushing the center back. That's what I want.
Either way you could use him. He could be a 2-way player just for that.
Didn't the Ravens for the long time have this big, massive guy on the defensive line that always took up 2 people?
I think it was Haloti Nada, but Vince Wilfork too. Man, that boy was a massive human being. So
who was the guy from Nebraska? I can't remember. Played for the Dolphins.
Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah, used to take up 2 people.
Yeah, I was gonna say Vince Wilfork is who I'm comparing this guy to be honest. And
I think he's
what's his name again? I keep forgetting it for some reason.
Oh gosh, hang on.
I just want to make sure when I him.
His name is.
Guy has a 28-inch vertical leap at 460 pounds.
Those are some strong legs for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's going to be. It's just the only problem he's going to have is the conditioning. I mean, you're not going to be able to.
Desmond Watson.
Desmond Watson. That's
You're not
right.
going to be able to leave him out there for 10, 15, 20 plays in a row. There's no way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Florida.
Yeah, but on short yardage, goal line, obvious running downs. I mean, you ain't run. He's a mess, and he's way more athletic than I was anticipating. I mean, it was the loudest 40-yard dash I've ever heard, and I'm pretty sure it took him 60 yards to slow down once he started because he was moving. I'm sure that earth was shaking, man. He's a big boy who can move. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, last thoughts before we start this show. No thoughts? All right, let's get it started. Well, with the 2025 NFL Draft here on 4th and 10U, the pick is in, and we'll have that going there. The Tennessee Titans will select the obvious choice, Cam Ward, as the number 1 pick. And so this is not a very hard choice, right? We already know that the Tennessee Titans don't believe in Will Levis, right? We saw that experiment last year. It didn't really work out. They have their top needs are QB, edge, and wide receiver. You need a wide receiver to go with your quarterback. I expect them. That's what their focus is going to be for their pick afterwards. We already know ultimately to build a dynasty team, you have to have the quarterback, right? To build a proper football team, that should be your first pick. A lot of teams try to do it differently. I think, no, you got to have the guy there. And the guy in this draft who arguably is the QB1 of this draft is Cam Ward. The guy can be electrifying. He's dynamic, can throw the ball very, very well. He can run when he needs to. Bullet Bob, you said he's cool and collective in the back. I mean, I will argue that, that's true for college, and he had a good offensive line in front of him, and they protected very well. But as you said, they're faster, stronger, better in the NFL. He has to be prepared to put the work in. Right. Yeah. I had some question marks about him. Question marks such as his wanting to compete. And I guess maybe that's not the right word. Essentially, I had question marks about him because of what happened during the bowl game. Right. I understand you're trying to protect yourself, but really, did you really want the records? Did you really want the records that bad? And then you're going to bug out? I'm sorry. For me, if you start a game, you finish the game, right? I understand if you're going into a playoff, but the Hurricanes were not going into a playoff after that game. You know what I mean? It was the Pop-Tart Bowl. Did you really need to do that? You know what I mean? And look what happened after you left the game. They folded really bad, right? And that's what I kind of have concerns about when it comes to Cam Ward. Is he a real competitor? Like, is he going to have the competitiveness that we want our quarterback to have? Like, I want a guy personally on my team, whatever team I build, I want a guy that is the first one in, last one out, one that wants to be in the game no matter what, with broken bones and everything. Put me in, coach. That's the type of guy I like and what I look for, right?
Well, those players are too old to play now.
Yeah, that is true. That is definitely true. That era is gone, and it's sad. And I just aged myself with that. But those are the type of players I like. And but ultimately, the guy has all the abilities. He can make the throws. He's dynamic. He can read the ball. Read the field. He can read defenses. Can he get better? Yes. But you can argue every quarterback in this draft can get better, to be honest. And ultimately, I think it's the safe pick for them. And I definitely rate him a lot higher than what they already had, which was Will Levis. So, that's my pick. What are you guys' thoughts?
Well, the Will Levis thing is he's not eating enough mayonnaise. Okay. So. That's his problem. No, the only other thing I can say about Cam Ward is I noticed watching him when I did watch the games he was in, he has a tendency to hang on to that ball a long time. He wants to make the perfect play, which I understand that. But like I said in the beginning, like you said, you can't hang on to it that long in the NFL. You ask Patrick Mahomes about that in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
You can't hang on to it.
Real quick before you go, Mike. I'm sorry. Before you go, I actually thought if they don't pick Cam Ward, the only other option is a trade down scenario with Tennessee. To be honest,
Yeah, Giants.
So if they don't want Cam Ward, you trade down no matter what. That was basically because I really feel. Let's say they wanted Abdul Carter, right? Well, they can get Abdul Carter by trading with the Giants, for example. Let's say they wanted somebody else. Let's say they're not going quarterback at all. They could have had anything they wanted, but the only obvious choice was the trade down. Nobody else was going to be a number one pick, in my opinion.
No.
So go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, it's time to roll to my pick, man. I'm really excited. I'm about to throw a curveball on the whole thing.
Definitely.
So next up is Cleveland Browns at number 2. Their needs are QB, wide receiver, and running back. Nick Chubb getting up there age-wise for running backs. Wide receivers, then once they traded away Amari Cooper, they really ain't got nobody. In QB with Deshaun Watson coming off of an Achilles tear that he ended up aggravating during rehab. You don't know when he's coming back. That contract is ugly. They're not going to be able to sign a free agent that they can really play. So they have 3 obvious needs. But I think Cleveland's going to Cleveland. And I actually have Shedeur Sanders going to Cleveland at number 2. And I think they're going to take the quarterback that they think again is going to be franchise changing. It'll be like number 576 that they've gone through since they've had a franchise quarterback. But yeah, I got Shedeur Sanders going number 2 to the Cleveland Browns in the first shocker of the draft.
Very interesting. I'll go ahead and pick this up where you left off. I do think if they pick a QB, it will be Shedeur Sanders. But I disagree. I don't think they're going QB at all, to be honest. I think they already have their heart set on, putting Myles Garrett next to Abdul Carter across from him.
Hey, but it's not your pick. This was my pick, and I get to pick whatever I want.
I'm just giving you my
GM right now.
Here's the icing on the cake for it, right? The icing on the cake is it has been confirmed Kirk Cousins has been spotted in Cleveland in 2 occasions on the same day, being only a mile away from the Cleveland Browns training facilities. And supposedly the rumor is that he talked to their doctors over there to verify his health and all that kind of stuff. I do think he could be a draft day trade. That could actually happen. But that's just my opinion. We'll find out. What are your thoughts, Bullet?
Well, yeah, it's Cleveland. What? Vinny Testaverde's the last franchise quarterback they had. That's going back a long way. But I don't think Mr. Sanders is going to be as good as people think he is in the NFL. He's small. He's not huge. He's not a big quarterback, but I don't know who they're going to pick. It's Cleveland. Okay.
Exactly.
It's Cleveland. I mean, what's the last time I remember them in a playoff game? They lost to the Dolphins. That was the 72 season. And so they've got a lot, but the old saying is I'm the adage, build from the inside out. Okay. Lineman, because don't matter how good your franchise quarterback is, if he can't stay upright or stay healthy, ain't no point in having him. So
yeah,
taking Carter, it wouldn't surprise me if they do that. And that man played in a game with one shoulder he couldn't use, and he was still a beast. I mean, he could only rush from one side because he had one shoulder done. So it's going to be interesting. Like I said, who's the GM in Cleveland now? Who is it now?
Oh God, what's his name? It's still the same guy that they've had for like
Ozzie Newsome.
No. Newsome was wasn't Newsome at the Ravens? Wasn't he part of the Ravens organization?
I thought he was in Cleveland, but anyway. But yeah, I don't know.
Andrew Barry.
Yeah.
Do they go with what they need, or do they go with the best available player? If Cousins goes there, if they've got a shot at Cousins, they're going to pass on quarterback. The only thing I worry about Cousins is he's going to have to play possibly all 16 games outside. He hasn't done that in a long time.
Not for long. And that was actually going to be, thank you for segueing me into that take. The Cleveland Browns, like I said, I'm a Dolphin fan. I mentioned that earlier before we started. But my family are Cleveland Browns fans, so I talk to them on the daily usually. I don't know if you know this. The Haslams, the ownership of the Browns, they have announced, what is it, a $2.8 billion deal to build a dome in Cleveland to put Cleveland back on the map.
Are they spending their own money, or is the city helping?
I have no idea at this point. All I know is the plans have been released. It does look very amazing, I will say. But I think a Kirk Cousins move definitely makes sense. And if you think about it, by the time they build that dome and they have those facilities and everything up and going, which takes, usually it's a 2-year turnaround normally, 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins is going to be on the tail end of his career and ready to probably walking into retirement, right? And that lines them up to get one of the better quarterbacks of the future. We're looking at a possible Arch Manning, because some people don't think he's coming in 2026. They think he's going to play all 4, maybe 5 years in college, right?
I think he will too, because it's his family.
Yeah, so Arch Manning, it might be there. You look at other quarterbacks that I've heard. There's a kid from South Carolina I'm hearing a lot of stuff about. There's a guy we talked about. I'm a big Buckeye fan, right? I'm from Ohio, Mike. You know that. Personally, I think that that's fine. That's fine. Haters are gonna hate. It's all good. No, it's kidding. Personally, I think Tavion St. Clair might be in a draft in 2027, maybe a little bit further, the next one after that. So I personally think if they're Cleveland and they're building this state-of-the-art facility, you want to line it up with someone that is going to lead your franchise for years to come. You don't want to have a circus franchise walking into that facility, essentially.
Cleveland's gonna Cleveland, bro.
I get you. I'm just hoping that they've learned from this lesson. I will say the owners already
realistically
admitted,
like 30.
Listen, Haslam himself, the owner, right? He's already admitted it was a failure. They took a big swing, he said verbatim, and they had a big miss, right? And now they're recovering from that. He admitted failure and admitted to the fault. So with that being said, they got to do something to come back from it. That's the fans hold that team to a high regard, and I think they will eventually do it. But hey, we're the Dolphins. We're going to dolphin it all the time, so we're the same.
Draft Deion's kid. That's a home run, bro.
Really? I don't think so, bro. I don't.
That name, dude, realistically, I think they're on 37 quarterbacks over the last 30 years.
Yeah.
They're going for, okay, and they may take Abdul Carter, but it's my draft. I'm Cleveland's GM, and I pick Shedeur Sanders because Cleveland's gonna Cleveland. But on the clock now is the New York Giants. What you gonna do, Ali?
Who did Giants draft? I mean, who'd they just sign? Didn't they sign Russell Wilson?
No, he went to the they did. It's Russell Wilson. They're gonna have a African American. I don't know how to say it, African American or black, but they're gonna have their first African American or black starting quarterback on week 1 that they've ever had in their organizational history. They have Geno Smith and Russell Wilson. So who are you taking at 3?
So they might, you never know, they might surprise and take a run or take a swing or draft down, just trade down and maybe go get another quarterback later in the draft, and one that can come in behind Wilson.
Ali, their biggest needs are QB, defensive tackle, and guard.
You just had me a little bit confused. I thought we were gonna have your dad take picks too, or is it just or is he just doing?
He's just doing Miami. He hasn't said on who he wants.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. I hope I don't take your player that you're taking. ultimately, we know they need a quarterback. However, they do have Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston in house. Those quarterbacks
Geno
are not
Smith.
bad for what they have, right? They
Oh,
also
it is
need,
Jameis Winston. I'm an idiot.
yeah.
Yeah.
They also
Don't listen
need
to me.
Hey, I'm not the expert. You guys are. I'm just kidding. They also need defensive tackle, guard, are the other needs that they need. However, I think the Giants are going to find themselves in a situation where Cam Ward and Shador Sanders are off the board, right? They could go defensive tackle, maybe a Mason Graham, but I'm going to tell you that they're going to actually continue to provide another weapon for Russell Wilson, right?
Ooh.
And yeah, I'm gonna go something a little bit
Who
different
we
here.
taking?
Give me a second. I'm looking at who's on the board right here.
If you don't take Hunter, there's something wrong. If you want another weapon,
No, I'm gonna go ahead and take somebody else because we're not doing trades. I ultimately think if Shador's not there, they're trading down. That's what I think is gonna happen. But I'm gonna go ahead and take the player that I think that they're gonna trade down to get anyways. I think they're gonna go and pick up Territora McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona.
Nice,
you got Neighbors
dude.
on one side and you got McMillan on the other side. That's a scary offense to go up against when you got two receivers like that. That's what I think happens. I think they trade down ultimately if those two quarterbacks are gone. But I do think whichever quarterback is available, let it be Cam Ward or Shador, Giants pick up one of them if they're on the board. That's what I ultimately think that happened. But in this draft, I'm going receiver. I know they want defensive tackle, but they can get that in the second round for sure. They can also get guard later on. I would not pick a guard in the first round in this draft, to be honest.
Here's to McMillan getting off the board at 3. I love it.
Yeah, that's my surprise move.
All right. So next on the clock is the Patriots. And you know how their organization loves their defense. And with the way this draft is going, he's got to go.
The coach is not a defensive guy anymore.
It don't matter. They're taking Abdul Carter at number 4.
That makes sense.
Yeah, he has to be a top 5 pick. I'm sorry. I almost took him as with the Giants. I almost did. But personally, their defense last year was pretty decent. It was their offense. They all had offensive issues, right?
Yeah,
and
but they got
outside of
Mac
Neighbors,
Jones.
they don't really have anybody.
I know, and I know they need some players, but dude, New England never passes on best available players. It's typically what they do. And now that Belichick's not there to draft crappy wide receivers, I think they're going to, at the way this draft is gone. And again, this is our mock draft at 4th and 10U. This isn't Mel Kiper or Todd McShay or Kirby Yates or whatever his name is. But yeah, I think Abdul Carter dropping to 4 is a blessing in disguise for New England because, I mean, he's a generational defensive lineman, and putting him on the edge, the best offense is a good defense. So, anyways, and I like Abdul Carter. We don't really need to talk about him too much. Everybody kind of knows who he is, and Bullet Bob said it earlier. Being able to play an entire game with a bum shoulder and still being able to get after the quarterback is pretty impressive. So, at number 5, we got Jacksonville Jaguars.
And the Jacksonville Jaguars continue to do Jaguar things in Duval County. All right. And in Duval County, I'll say it the way that their head coach does. Hey, Duval. I didn't get that's the way you said it. I'm sorry. It was so funny. That's how he got introduced. I will say that they once had one of the best, if not the best cornerback in the league, in my opinion, at the time, Jalen Ramsey, who's with the Dolphins now, right? And I think history repeats themselves, and they get one of the best corners in the league, and that is going to be the Heisman winning Travis Hunter.
says, I already knew this was coming. I already placed it and picked it before you said it because that's their top need. It's corner. They got to get somebody in there.
They got to get somebody. And could you imagine if you did that and I said a different name? You would have been
I'd
like,
have to go redo the whole thing. Oh, that's funny. Well, now we get to, and everybody knows who Travis Hunter is. We could get into it. Actually, Dad, do you think he plays both ways, or do you think he spends the majority of his time at one position or the other?
I mean, it just, it depends. I mean, it's hard to play both ways. Dion tried it and then eventually just pretty much stuck to defense and everything. There aren't a whole lot of professional football players that have played both ways. I mean, it's tough. Do you play him at corner and then bring him in on third downs, obvious passing downs? You can't play him 15 play drive on offense and then turn around and pay him a 10 or 15 play drive on defense. He won't make a game. I don't care how good a shape he is. He can't do it. All
right.
So it's, if you're going to bring him in, you bring him in as a corner, you play him as a corner, and you bring him in third. You're going to bring him in as a wide receiver, you play him as a wide receiver, and put him in there in a nickel slot on third down situations or something.
I like it.
He's got to pick one side of the ball, one way or the other. He can't play both every down. Not possible. And players don't play every down now anymore. The only people that play every down right now are offensive linemen and quarterbacks. That's it. They don't get a break. Everybody else rotates in and out. I mean,
yeah, I hear you. All right.
So just my opinion of it. I agree with you. I do think that I actually kind of think that he does play both ways, but not to full time. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think it's going to be a limited, like a third down scenario he plays on offense. Outside of that, I think he's going to be primarily on corner. But hey, if he can actually, let's say he does become not the first player, but I would say one of the few players that play full time both ways. That's impressive. That, and he says he's built that way. He's just different, right? That's why he said verbatim. But talking the talk and walking the walk are two different things, though.
Yeah,
especially
that's
in the
120
NFL.
plays. 120 plays in an NFL game. That's absurd. All right.
No.
Moving on to number 6, the Las Vegas Raiders. As much as I hate to do this, I'm taking Ashton Jeanty at number 6.
I'm glad he's gone.
I do not like the guy, but I do think the Raiders, I think they're drinking the Kool-Aid per se. And I think Jeanty's a perfect fit for what they need. They lost Josh Jacobs. They had a huge drop off at running back. By all accounts, that's their top need, and I think it'll be the first top 10. What is it? The first top 10 running back since Zeke? I don't remember if there's another one that was top 10. Ali, help me out with that.
Since Zeke, I don't think there has been a running back that has been a top 10 since. In fact, because of Zeke, there hasn't been.
Yeah, I do. I'm gonna check it out while you're talking. I'm gonna find out.
Oh,
for sure.
Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe. Let me look up Jahmyr Gibbs.
I have a question. Saquon Barkley, wasn't he drafted? Didn't Zeke come in before Saquon did into the league?
Ooh, he might be right. I think it is Saquon.
Yeah, to the Giants. I remember I wanted him to fall to the Dolphins. He didn't make it.
Yeah, 1 second here. Jahmyr Gibbs was 12 overall, so almost the top 10.
Yeah.
I
want to say Zeke.
No, Zeke came before Saquon did.
Yeah.
And Zeke was good until he got paid.
One second here.
Yeah, this is hard to find.
Was taken in the first round.
Drafthistory.com. Got it. All right, let's look at this. 2024. Bijan Robinson.
2018.
Bijan Robinson.
Right?
Bijan Robinson, Brees Hall in 2022. Oh wait, hang on. Pick. Never mind. Let me go
Bijan
back. Yeah,
Robinson.
it was Bijan Robinson in 2023 at number 8, Brees Hall at number 4 in 2022, and then you got to go back to Saquon Barkley at number 2 in 2018.
Yeah,
Leonard Fournette at number 4 in 2017, and then Zeke at number 6. So there's been a couple, but I do think it's going to be Ashton Genty to the Raiders at 6. And now, and I don't want to get into Genty because I don't want to get any more hate. I'm not a fan of him. I think the level of competition was very subpar. Yeah. So, but on the clock at number 7 for the great Ali the Persian, the Jets.
Oh God!
Their top needs are offensive tackle, wide receiver, and tight end. Who are you going with?
Well, I honestly think they need a quarterback, right?
No, they've already said Justin Fields is QB1.
I was about to say they got their guy.
Okay, but is he the guy is the question, right? And until he proves that, they don't have a guy. They have a guy. They don't have the guy, right?
Yeah.
Here's where I'm at with it. I'm a Buckeye fan, but I will be objective when it comes to their performance. Justin Fields in college and Justin Fields in pros are two different things, night and day, right? Justin Fields in college could throw dimes like with his eyes closed, blindfolded, right? He could throw 60, 70 yards down the field like it was nothing. He could run the 20 yards that he needed without any problem. Now, he gets drafted by the Chicago Bears, and just like the Jets, quarterbacks go there to die, when it comes to the Bears. The Jets, the same thing. Quarterbacks go there to die. So is this a good thing? I don't really think so. I don't know. It is interesting that he's back with his top receiver when he was at the height of his career in college, right? They also brought in his offensive lineman. So that's great. And what better way to complement him if you got the receiver, you got the running backs, you supposedly have an offensive line. What better way than to actually pair him up with a really good tight end? It's going to be Tyler Warren from Penn State.
Poor guy. Poor guy.
Poor guy.
I almost locked it in before you said it, but I was like, I'm going to wait and see what he says. But I think Tyler Warren at 7
it's going to be a Tyler Warren pick. Listen, it doesn't matter where. I mean, I know we're just kind of talking some stuff right now because we're Dolphin fans, obviously. But I will say that
I couldn't tell with the hats on either side of me.
Well, you're the only one not wearing one. So, I mean, who knows? You could be a Kansas City fan with those colors, to be honest.
Hey, at least we won a Super Bowl the last 30 years.
But it is very difficult to pick for rivals. I've noticed that. Like I'm sitting here like, oh, I don't want him to have that player, but that would be a good player for them. You know what I mean? So pulling it out to pick for the Jets.
Yeah, because
I do think it's going to be a tight end though. It's a Jets thing to do. That's
because Justin Fields needs a good tight end because he's the adage that he was great in college, but when he got to the pros, it was bigger and faster, and he still ain't gotten used to it.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
that's fair.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. Justin Fields at Chicago had a hell of a tight end. Cole Kmet was there, right? And he performed. I remember. Let's not forget, Justin Fields tore us a new one. Even though we won the game, I felt like we lost the battle, to be honest. Because you look at, he was running against us like there was no defensive line at all, right? And when he was throwing, it was going to Cole Kmet, and it was like connection. It was like connect 4 every time. So
the ball didn't have to go very far down the field.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, Bull Bob, what do you think about Taylor Warren?
Oh, I think he's going to be good. He reminds me of a tight end the Raiders had a while back, size-wise and everything. I think that tight end wore number, I can't remember what he was, but it was a long time ago for the Raiders.
What number did he wear?
I'm 44 sticking in my head for some reason. But I wouldn't know. But I'd say
of the Colts. Dallas Clark of the Colts.
Yeah, Dallas Clark.
Reminds me
This
of.
guy at the Raiders was kind of the same way. He was just, he did a little bit of everything. He caught the ball, he ran the ball. That's who Tyler Warren reminds me of. When I can't remember it.
Fred Gillette?
No, you got to go. You're going to go way back for this guy. You're talking about 80s.
That guy, Fred Gillette's from 64. So let me go.
Oh, no, you come a little bit newer.
Too far, Ollie. Too far.
80s.
Hey, my dad's old. My dad's old,
but
he ain't that old.
I did not mean no disrespect.
I was only 3 years old, so I didn't know diddly squat.
I got you. Tight ends.
He's a white guy. He probably holds all the records for tight ends for the Raiders.
Let's see here. Dave Casper.
There you go. Dave Casper, the friendly ghost.
Yeah, played from 74 to 80 and then returned in 84 to the Raiders.
Yeah.
So very interesting. Very interesting.
Kind of reminds me of the same game.
Does he give you Mike Gesicki vibes at all?
No, because I Mike Gesicki, as big as he was, I love that we drafted him, but then when he started playing him, Tyler Warren can block. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Warren can do everything. Mike Gesicki is an oversized wide receiver, okay, but not real fast.
Mm.
And Gesicki, Miami tried their hardest to get him to put some weight on and block, and he didn't do it.
I got you.
I think Tyler Warren's the whole package. He can block, he can run, he can catch. And he goes up for the ball. You high point a ball for him, he gets it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the pick is in. We spent our 2 minutes talking about Tyler Warren to the Jets. Now we got Carolina on the clock with the good old undersized Bryce Young at quarterback. Their needs are edge, wide receiver, and defensive tackle. And to nobody's surprise, because he's dropped this far, I have Carolina taking Mason Graham out of Michigan.
Mm.
All right, Ohio State guy, tell me what you think about your rival defensive tackle.
Well, I will say Michigan has two first-round talented defensive tackles. Mason Graham, from what people say, a lot of people think he's the better of the two. I'm more of a Kenny Grant kind of guy, personally. I want to say Kenny Grant is a little bit more of a bigger kind of guy, run stuffer, whereas Mason Graham can, stop the run. He can go after the quarterback. I think it's a good pick, safe pick for the Panthers. I know they need a lot over there. They need help on the offensive side as well. But I like the pick. I think that's the type of player I expect that they could go with. Definitely. If they didn't go defensive line, I thought maybe edge might be a person here as well. I like it.
All right. Now on the clock, the New Orleans Saints. Biggest needs are cornerback, wide receiver, and offensive line. All right, Ali, you're on the clock.
All right. I got to converse with my general manager and everybody, but yeah. So they need what did you say the needs were? The biggest needs?
Cornerback, wide receiver, and offensive line.
All right, so
come on, stick with the Cajun roots, man.
I'm about to. I'm gonna go Will Campbell. I'm sorry.
I had LSU.
I keep him in Louisiana and lock him in the basement. He ain't going nowhere. So yeah, it's gonna be Will Campbell. I think they eventually need a quarterback. It may be not this year, but I think next year they're gonna be looking for a quarterback. What better way to build from the trenches, as Bob said earlier? I'm going with it.
So I on the quarterback, for some reason, I think it could be our first. I think a QB is a huge option for New Orleans, and then people are going to say it's a reach, but I do think there is a guy they like. But it's okay. So you took Mr. Will Campbell to the Saints at number 9 out of LSU. By far, well, by most metrics, he's the number 1 offensive tackle in the draft. Yeah, it's a good pick, dude. And now on the clock, we got the Chicago Bears. They need offensive tackle, edge, and running back. Man, honestly, I think this will be our first. I've heard some really crazy things from recently about the guy, but I do think he's probably the best raw talent on the board here. And so I will have Chicago taking Shamar Stewart out of A&M.
Shamar
I
Stewart.
don't know a whole lot to say about him other than his character issues, but I do think he's probably
What position does he
at
play?
this in our draft. I think Shamar Stewart goes to Chicago.
What position does he play?
Edge.
Defensive end.
Okay. And by the way, Ali, you mentioned earlier after you just did your pick for the Saints that there were no first-round offensive linemen in this draft.
Say that again?
You said there was no offensive lineman worth taking in the first round in this draft.
I said that?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, before the show started.
I don't think it was offensive lineman I was talking about.
You said you could get offensive linemen later in the draft.
Oh,
no need
guard.
to reach over.
I said guard. Guard.
Okay.
Guard.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, my mistake.
There's no guards I would take in this first round at all. Everyone's talking about Tyler Booker. I'm sorry, whatever his name is, from Alabama. You go get him in the 2nd or 3rd round. That's where you go get him. That's just my opinion. It's my pick now, right?
Right. Yeah, it's the San Francisco 49ers at number 11.
People refer to the 49ers as the big brother of the Miami Dolphins, with Mike McDaniel and a similar scheme and what we try to do offensively in the Mike Shanahan style offense. And this man, I was not a believer at first. Mike twisted my arm till it basically dislocated itself. And after watching several hours of tape, why not go get the best offensive lineman for the scheme that he was built and born for, right? You know who I'm going to go with. This offensive lineman happens to play for the Longhorns, right? I think he's going to fit well with, a Shanahan. You go get Calvin Banks as the offensive lineman pick there. Hot take, though. That's my pick for this draft. Are the 49ers quietly positioning themselves for a QB run for 2026?
No, because
let's see what type of contract they give to Purdy.
Yeah, Shanahan just said that they're the people they're losing and stuff like that is due to a contract for Purdy.
So they're going to pay all this money to a 7th round draft pick who's not going to have anybody to throw to, not going to have anybody to run. There's major rumors that Christian McCaffrey might get traded to the Cowboys. And if
they don't have an offensive line anymore.
They don't have the offensive line. They couldn't even bring in Joey Bosa or Nick Bosa's brother, Joey Bosa. They couldn't even bring him in, right? They are in rebuild. They're in complete rebuild mode, in my opinion. And I do think, is Purdy worth all that money? That's where I keep going back to it.
I know y'all aren't doing this, but you're talking about they're in rebuild mode. It wouldn't shock you if they take and trade down and pick up a few more picks.
It won't shock me whatsoever. Definitely.
Because if they're in rebuild mode, you want picks. Okay? And that's the only way you can do it, especially when they got to save money and they can get these guys for 4 and 5 years at cheap.
Yeah. In fact, based on some of the mocks I've been seeing, the guy I pick, I think he does become a 49er, but there's a very good chance it could be later on in this first round. I could see them trading with somebody and still be able to get him. That's my opinion. So
right now, everybody, it's America's team at number 12 is the Dallas Cowboys.
Cowgirls.
Yeah. Hey, I'm cool with the Cowgirls. They need running back, wide receiver, and cornerback.
Did you say corner or quarter? I think
they go corner. Well, that's debatable. I actually think they're gonna go with a defensive player, not unlike when they drafted Byron Jones, and I think they take a solid, not flashy guy that can do his job in Will Johnson at number 12.
Why would you take somebody solid at number 12? Is he going to start? Is he going to
Yeah,
contribute
because
right
they
away?
don't have anybody else. Hey, it's another guy from your rival, Ollie. What do you think?
You went with Will Johnson, corner?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they said he's good off the ball. He doesn't have to he's better in zone, if I read about him right. He's better in zone and breaking on the ball, getting to it.
Yeah, he's not he does a lot of stuff well. It's kind of hard to mock him because of the fact that he only got to play 6 games last season because of the injury concerns that he's had. And in fact, I want to say like he had a better performance 2 years ago. And then since then it's nothing but injury situation that he keeps re-aggravating. So I don't know. I personally think that he kind of looks slow at times. I do think he is better off the ball, kind of like what you said. I just don't know if he has the top end speed. And I'm worried about his hips. Like that, if you go look at what people say, his hips look kind of stiff. And in this league, you need to be able to adjust, especially with the faster receivers. You know, you look at the receiver that Kansas City got last season. You look at some of these receivers, you got to be able to, switch your hips left and right, as quickly as possible. He looks kind of stiff. But I could see this could be a Jerry Jones pick for sure. Ultimately, though, Jerry Jones has been promising an offensive weapon for several years now. This could be the year that they do that. I honestly think they go receiver, but that's just my opinion.
Well, Jerry Jones is the coach, scout, and general manager. So if you watch the draft, he's the only team where the owner talks about the draft picks and not the coach. He's the only team that does that. So, I can count on him screwing it up.
Yeah. All right. Now, moving on to number 13. And we have a guest picker because obviously he's the guest on the show. And it's favorite team since birth. Season tickets for so many years. Repping the hat. Dealt with all the heartache we all have on the Fins tailgate. But here on 4th and 10U, Bullet Bob is going to select for the Miami Dolphins at number 13. And as far as offensive linemen available, you've got Armand Minbu, the 332-pounder that ran a sub 540. You've got Josh Simmons out of Ohio State, Josh Connolly out of Oregon. Those are your tackles, and your top guards available are going to be Tyler Booker out of Alabama, Zabel out of North Dakota State, and I think it's debatable. I'll go Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State.
I got them all on my phone. Okay, I've been looking, but they also need a safety. They also need a corner. With Calais Campbell going to Arizona, which I can't figure out why, but I guess it's the team that drafted him, so he wants to end his career there. But anyway, I don't know. They want to run the ball, okay? And if you're going to run the ball, you've got to have guards, okay? Not a tackle you're going to try to convert to a guard, but you need guards, guys that have played there that are when you play guard, you're playing to run, okay? Tackles are used for pass blocking, guards are used for running. It's as simple as that. You don't see a tackle pull for a running back, you see a guard pull. And been looking at them, and I love that safety out of Georgia. What's his name? Starts with an M.
Malachi Starks.
Yeah, Starks. I mean, do we go that route like we did with Javon Holland? Javon Holland had a great rookie season, and after that, it was nothing. I mean, he went and zippity zip. So it's a hard decision. They need a little bit of everything, but they want to do the running game. So I'm going to do something Ollie wouldn't say. I'd say Mr. Tate Rutledge.
I like the pick, just not in the round one.
Yeah, well, when you got a guard that's on a 4.9 740 and his pass block rating is 88, I mean, his run block rating is 88 and his pass block rating is 80.
It's pretty good.
So, yeah, definitely. I mean, he does a little bit of everything, and it's his speed. I mean, get him out in front of A-Chain, Jalen Wright.
Yeah. Personally, I think the Dolphins have put themselves in a, like, they kind of have to start looking at a trade down scenario. Missing out on
I agree there too. I've thought about that too. Trade down, get a few more picks, get another second rounder or another third rounder or whatever. But if we're going to stick with it, I'd want them to go for a guard because, I mean, all the great – I mean, who's that guy? Was it a tackle or a guard they signed out of from the Bears that's coming off an injury that's supposed to be pretty good?
So he – first of all, they signed him out of Pittsburgh, and that's Daniel James.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, you're right. Yeah. They did sign somebody from the Bears, though, too.
Yeah, that guy is a project. I do think his better position is guard, but it's nothing to really brag about, to be honest. But to be 100% honest, I honestly think they've forced themselves into a trade down scenario now because look at the two major needs. The biggest holes on the defense now are going to be corner. So they don't have a second starting corner whatsoever, and they still don't have another starting defensive tackle whatsoever, right? So those two positions are the biggest needs. What better way to trade down? You can still get your starting defensive tackle. You could get that starting corner. There's still a name on the board. There's a couple names on the board still. And you can get that guard, that starting guard in the second round and then some. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you have.
I agree with you, but if we're going to go to the first round, I mean, offensive line, defense line, from the inside out. I mean,
I hear you.
Winning team. You got a team that can, when you can get a defensive line that'll stop the run and turn them into one-dimensional, and then with the pass rushers the Dolphins have, I mean, they all come back healthy because number 44 from Penn State, boy, that boy just blew up the second half of the season.
Definitely. I definitely see where you're coming from.
But like
any thoughts on that, Mike?
I mean, I think I might have gone Alabama guy over Georgia guy, but can't really fault any type of Georgia players nowadays. So,
I looked at that Alabama guy. That Alabama guy, his run blocking is 72.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah.
I get why you took him. I'm not.
And the other guy's got 88 run blocking.
Yep. Yep. So, moving on to the Indianapolis Colts with the great Anthony Richardson at quarterback. They need tight end, offensive lineman, and linebacker. Where are you going, Ali?
Ooh, I'm going to stay in the state of Indiana. And I'm going to go ahead and pick up. Let me find him. Actually, I'm not going to stay in Indiana. Never mind. I am actually going to go down to Alabama, and I'm going to be picking up a Jihad Campbell linebacker. I think that's where they're going to go. I know they need quarterback there still too. That's an option. Personally, I think they need a little bit of help everywhere. But I know for a fact the Colts, they like them linebackers. So I'm going with the linebacker, to be honest. That's where I'm going.
All right.
Real quick, I just want to catch up just real quick. I'm sorry. Real quick. Dallas took who? Who did Dallas take?
They took Will Johnson.
Will Johnson. Okay. And he took the guard out of Georgia, right?
No. Guard, Tate Ratledge. I don't know what school he was out of.
Yeah, he went to Georgia. And then Jihad Campbell at 14.
Gotcha. I just want to make sure I'm keeping up so I know what's on the board. Thank you.
Yeah, next we got Atlanta Falcons, who I agree with you, Ali. I think this is probably a trade scenario, but they need edge, defensive tackle, and cornerback. And so I actually have them taking Jahdae Barron out of Texas.
I was wondering when you were going to get to some of them defensive players out of Texas.
Well, I think he's by far the number 2 and arguably the number 1 cornerback on the board. Dallas likes to go safe. That's why I picked Will Johnson, because he reminds me of Byron Jones. He's just a consistent corner. He's not going to do anything flashy. But I do think Atlanta pairing or putting Barron on that defense would be pretty spectacular for where they are at 15. And I don't really, at that point in the draft with who we've got on the board, I just don't really see them taking. There is another guy that they could have taken. I'll let you, take him later on. We probably get to 17, but hey, I do think Jahdae Barron is a good pick there for Atlanta at 15. Next on the clock, the Arizona Cardinals. They need a wide receiver to pair with your guy, Michael Harrison. Or Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison. Get his name right.
Ohio State. You went to Ohio State. Okay, I even know this.
His dad is a legend. Come on.
Wide receiver, defensive tackle, and guard. Where are you going, Ali?
Well, the best fit for them, honestly, is no longer on the board, right? So we said the options were defensive tackle. What other options did they have?
Number one is wide receiver, and then defensive tackle and guard.
They just got Calais. I'm going to go ahead and go with wide receiver here. And what better way to pair Marvin Harrison with
Ohio State? I know what you're thinking.
Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah.
Why not set that up? And you got Harris. You have to understand, Emeka Egbuka had the best season next to Marvin Harrison in that last 2 seasons. So the fact that you could have them back together again, it would be golden, to be honest. It would be gold to watch.
You should have taken Golden.
Yeah, but I'd figured, I just don't think that Golden is the type of receiver they're looking for. Golden is
hoping
good.
You went back Texas players.
They need a tall receiver because their quarterback has to look up to see them.
This is true, I just think Emeka Egbuka does a lot of things for them, personally.
Oh, yeah,
I think he can line up. I think he can line up virtually anywhere on the field, outside, inside, slot, the Z receiver, wide receiver, the whole 10 yards. I also think that he has the ability to be that Amon St. Brown for the Cardinals. It doesn't matter what team that he goes to, he could be that Amon St. Brown style receiver for them. And that's what I see in him. So that's why I'm going with him. I know you wanted Golden, but the reality for me is I just don't think he's what they're looking for. They have Marvin Harrison for the deep threat. I think they want someone in between, constant, to be like the 0 to 10 yards intermediate throw receiver. I see Emeka being that guy. That's who I'm going with.
All right. Moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals. Top needs are defensive end, linebacker, and safety. And without wasting any time, I got them taking Michael Williams out of Georgia. Michael Williams, whatever you want to say.
Was he safety?
Defensive end.
Defensive end. I thought for sure you'd have him take that safety out of Georgia.
By the way, other
I didn't need somebody to pay to pair with Hendrickson personally.
Yeah.
By the way, the other receiver, if they didn't take Emeka Egbuka, I think Luther Burden was the guy that would go to the Cardinals. By the way, I think in that scenario,
that's fair. So I got Michael Williams going to the Cincinnati Bengals at number 17. Top prospects available. We got Armand Mimbu, Jalen Walker, Malachi Starks, Matthew Golden, Loveland out of Michigan, and James Pierce Jr. So at number 18, Ali, you are now the GM for the Seattle Seahawks, and your top needs are offensive lineman, defensive tackle, and wide receiver.
This is the fastest pick I'll ever make, right? I'm going to tell you it's going to be Matthew Golden. And I'll tell you why real quick. They got the quarterback. They got the running backs. No problem. In fact, they got 2 of them, Kenneth Walker and the guy who was the running back for UCLA before Charbonnet. They got both the running backs. They have a lot to offer on defense. I'm telling you, they need a receiver bad, like tomorrow. I'm going Matthew Golden. I'll say it. It's in his name. Everything he touches is gold. I get it. I just think he's a better fit with Seattle than he is with the Cardinals. That's why I'm going that pick that way.
I like it. I like it. All right, moving on. We got Tampa Bay. Well, and real quick about Golden, I think he losing Metcalf, didn't Lockett, isn't he gone too?
I think
can't
so.
remember. I want to say Lockett's gone too. So I think that's good, and it's a shifty receiver to pair with Jackson Smith and Jigba, another Ohio State guy. They just seem to be turning out wide receivers. So I think it's a good pick. Now we got Tampa Bay at 19 with the top needs are edge, cornerback, and linebacker. And the way the draft has gone, I have them taking Jalen Walker out of Georgia, which probably a top 2 or top 3 linebacker in the draft, but I think that's right up Tampa Bay's alley. And there's another guy I almost went with, but I just think that Jalen Walker kind of fits what they need right now. And Georgia defensive guys are, they're always good, it seems. So, anyways, but Jalen Walker at number 19 to Tampa Bay. Now we're on to number 20. It is Denver, and they need running back, wide receiver, and cornerback. All right, Mr. Ali, where are you going?
Well, you don't have to go too far. We already know what the biggest need is. It's going to be wide receiver. You looked at a draft that just took Emeka Egbuka off the board. There's no Matthew Golden now. I took McMillan super early with ultimately where I think he would go. I'm gonna go ahead and take Luther Burden here. He's the best wide receiver on the board. They need weapons there. I know running back is a thing, but there's a lot of running backs in this draft. They can pick up one a little bit later. There is a drop off when it comes to wide receivers. That's why I think there's a little run on receivers right now. So that's where I'm going.
All right. I like it. Luther Burden III out of Missouri. A little bit of question marks, more of a run after catch guy. I've seen him mocked to Dallas at some point, but not a bad pick. Number 20. Moving on to number 21 in the great state where my famous Bullet Bob has retired to. We've got Pittsburgh Steelers with the greatest need as defensive tackle, running back, and quarterback. And I'm kind of on the fence about this pick, but I do think that this guy might fit in great with Tomlin. I don't have a reach here at quarterback. I know they really don't know who that it's going to be. They got Mason Rudolph right now. But I'm taking Derek Harmon out of Oregon to number 20, or at number 20 to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's an interesting pick. I'm kind of disappointed though. They used to call the Pittsburgh Steelers defensive line the steel wall of the Northwest, right?
Steel curtain. Let's get it right.
I'm sorry, the steel curtain, right? Well, I'm sorry, but what the guy that you just took, in my opinion, he can't run block very well. Personally, I'm not going to call him a steel curtain. I'll call him an aluminum foil curtain, but that's about it.
He's a defensive tackle. He's not there to run block.
I'm telling you, he can't run block at all, and that's something they pride themselves on. And you look at a league that you have who's the running back over at the Ravens?
Derrick Henry.
Yeah, Derrick Henry. You want to stop that run. In fact, Cleveland, even though they don't have a quarterback, they got 2 running backs over there right now. You look at Jerome Ford and you look at Nick Chubb, right? They got running backs. Even the running back from the Cincinnati Bengals, you're going to want to stop the run. And why not better way of giving a really good running back to the Steelers? You could have went running back as well. That's another thing as well, my opinion. But this is your
okay, that's fair. I know who you would have taken, but I'm taking defensive tackle just because I think they're due for a first round defensive player, and so that's what I'm taking. All right, moving on to number 22, the Los Angeles Chargers. The greatest needs are tight end, wide receiver, and defensive tackle. Mr. Ali, where are you going?
Well, I will go ahead and tell you, the Chargers are known for tight ends. We're talking about guys like Antonio Gates. Hunter Henry was a Charger at one point. Kellen Winslow. So these are some of the names that are out there, right? I'm going to go ahead and say Harbaugh gets reunited with his tight end, and it's going to be Colston Loveland. That's where he's going.
All right. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Best tight end on the board at this point. By all accounts, he's the second best tight end in a really deep tight end draft. So it's a good pick. Moving on to Green Bay at 23. They need wide receiver, defensive tackle, and cornerback. This one's kind of tough. I think honestly it's a trade down situation just because I don't know if they're gonna have their guys there. But let's see here. Yeah. I mean they've got Quentin Johnson for the deep routes and the jump balls. I think, but they also have the homeboy out of Georgia from last year. I don't know why wide receivers so high up there on their list. Let me see. Think.
Which team is this for?
I'm gonna throw it back. Green Bay Packers don't get another wide receiver, and I was thinking Chargers. Green Bay has Romeo Doubs. They got Christian Watson. Not a huge fan. They've also got they're loaded at wide receivers, so they're still looking for the number one. But they definitely need to shore up that defense, and so I'll get them taking Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
that's a shocker right there.
Well, I just don't think there's a wide receiver worth taking right now at 23. And cornerbacks, I think it's honestly a huge drop off after Jahdae Barron and Will Johnson. So I think that's the safest bet. The only other guy I would have gone is Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. But yeah, so I got him taking Tyleik Williams at 23.
I'm kind of surprised. Bro. Yeah. He's good. I don't know. For me, in my evaluation, he was a day 2 guy. That's just my opinion. But a lot of people have him on the tail end of the first round. However, he had that injury where he couldn't complete a 40 during his pro day. I don't know if you saw the injury. So, if that pans out, like everything's okay there.
He said it was a cramp. He said it was a cramp.
Okay. I haven't got the official word what it was, but if it was a cramp, then okay. All right. I like the position for sure. Not necessarily the player, but I like the position for sure.
All right. Moving on to number 24, the Minnesota Vikings they need cornerback, defensive tackle, and center. Mr. Ali, where are you going with this one?
Defensive tackle that's on the board.
Walter Nolan.
All right, Kenny Grant's already gone, right? Ole
Miss. No, Kenny Grant's he's available too. He's second best one available. You taking Kenneth Grant?
I'm taking Kenny Grant.
All right, Kenneth Grant out of Michigan.
Kenny Grant is a giant or man amongst boys, to be honest, in college. He's a very big man. I think he would stuff the run. He would, move offensive linemen around if he wanted to. And personally, I think he is a Flores kind of guy. So Flores kind of guy with a Flores defense makes complete sense.
All right, Kenneth Grant out of Michigan to Minnesota at 24. Now on the clock is the Houston Texans, who just traded away Laramie Tunsil, the guy that has single-handedly garnered enough picks to fill a draft board by himself during trades. And I have them taking in my opinion, the greatest combine performance by an offensive lineman I've ever seen. And I have them taking Armand Mimbu out of Missouri at number 25 to the Houston Texans.
I like it.
For those of you who don't know, he ran a 4.9 40 at 332 pounds. He's massive. He's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. And to be 100% honest, if there is a team that already told you what they're picking, it's Texans. It has to be an offensive lineman.
Yep.
I do think it's a tackle, no matter what. You just allowed it's like having the Great Wall of China get knocked down and they have no wall for defenses. That's basically what it is. And I personally think that is a very good pick. I agree with it 100%.
All right, moving on to number 26, the Los Angeles Rams. Greatest needs are cornerback, linebacker, and offensive tackle. Where are you going, Ali?
Well, personally, you took my pick because I was going to go Membo here. However, I think they're going to go back and look at their defense again, and I think they're going to pick up Jalen Walker, linebacker.
He's already gone. Good try, though.
He's already gone? Oh, shoot. I thought he was still available.
Ooh. No, sir.
I have a question about them. How are they stacking the wide receiver? Because one of their best ones just left.
It's not one of their needs. Their top needs are tight end, tackle, linebacker, and CB. Let me see what tackles are still available.
You got Simmons out of Ohio State coming off an injury. You got a couple guards available.
I'm going Josh Simmons. There's no better offensive lineman that's available right now. And to be honest, he can play the inside guard. He can play the tackle. He's a beast of a competitor, very smart. I'm going Josh Simmons. I think it's smart. The only reason he's dropping this low is because of the injury last year. That's it.
I agree. All right. Moving on to the Baltimore Ravens at number 27, with the greatest needs being edge, defensive tackle, and safety. And I'm on the this is tough for me because there's a couple guys that I like here, but at the end of the day, the back end of your defense is super important, and they've got a stud in Kyle Hamilton. So I have them taking the greatest combine performance by a defensive player I've ever seen, and Nick Emenwari to the Ravens at number 27.
Bro, they need to ban that. If there's going to be like the NBA and stop a trade from happening because it's unfair, that would be the pick. That would be the pick you stop. If I'm Goodell, you can't pick him. I'm sorry. You've had too many safeties in history. I'm sorry. I mean, Ohio State's wide receiver Ravens is safety heaven because they always got a safety that's elite. I mean, come on.
That's funny.
But that would be a hell of a pickup by them. Definitely.
Oh, I agree. And I've heard some things recently. And well, I mean, honestly, Malachi Starks, his game tape is phenomenal, but his peripherals and his 40 and his 3-cone shuttle and everything, I'm not impressed with him anymore. I know he plays good, but I got him and Warrior going to Baltimore. So
I like it.
Moving on to the Detroit Lions, who are the up and coming franchise in the NFL with a coach that likes to bite people's kneecaps. Who you taking with Detroit? They got the greatest needs are edge, guard, and linebacker.
Well, my pick is still on the board for Detroit. I actually think this happens, to be honest. And I'm going to tell you, shout out to the Detroit Lion fans. Next to the Cleveland Brown fans and next to us, I don't think there's a stronger, passionate fans than the Detroit Lion fans, to be honest. Next to us and the Cleveland Browns. You talk about team that like fighting for your team 24/7 and seeing mediocrity for year in and year out. It's the Detroit Lions, us, and the Cleveland Browns, right? I'm going not too far from Detroit, maybe about a 45-minute drive to my hometown, my alma mater, where I went to school, and a University Toledo. Darius Alexander, the edge. He's the next Mac. And if you didn't know, the Mac is the hunting grounds of the NFL today. They're the new hunting grounds. Year in and year out, somebody from the Mac gets drafted. We just had one win a Super Bowl. So there was a couple Mac players in that Super Bowl, by the way. But I'm going with Darius Alexander.
All right. For those of you, he just said it, but for those of you that don't know, he went to the University of Toledo. Man, I like the pick. If I was Detroit, I'd go on edge there. I might have picked somebody else, but I like it. So moving on to Washington at number 29. This little disclaimer: I think they're my dark horse to win the Super Bowl next year. I think they still got something like $70 million to spend on free agency. And their greatest need is edge, running back, and cornerback. I don't agree about the running back portion with Brian Robinson and Eckler. Cornerback, I don't think there's one that I would take right here, but there is a guy who I think has a chance to be kind of like a Dwight Freeney. I'm trying to think some other guys. I love his first step. I think he played in the SEC. I enjoy watching him, and I think he's already got a couple moves that will play at the NFL level. So to the the Washington Commanders at number 29, I got him taking James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee.
That's not who I thought you were going.
He's pretty big.
I think he's the greatest. I think he has the best first step as a defensive lineman in this draft.
Okay. So that's not who I thought you were going with.
It's okay. You know, I was the GM right there, so I'm not supposed to let my picks know.
Is happening here, right? This is the run on edge, right? We had the Lions take Darius Alexander. I think Darius Alexander makes sense because of the fact that he's right there 45 minutes away. So they've had people scouting him left and right from day one. You know what I mean? And with that being said, it's an easy transition to that environment living in the Northwest Ohio, going to Detroit area, right? It would be simple, easy. You already know what he's bringing you. He's in your backyard, right? Who are the available edges at this point?
Got Mike Green out of Marshall.
Nick Scorton. He's a linebacker, Dad. Nick Scorton out of A&M.
You said James Pierce had the best step in this year's draft, right?
Oh, dude, I watched his combine, dude. Have you seen his first step? It's ridiculous. I think it's great. And I watched him play at Tennessee.
I have somebody that I think has a really good step. In fact, I think he has the most explosive motor on this. I'm going Mike Green out of Marshall. I'm going Mike Green out of Marshall.
At Buffalo?
You know what? You know what? When they take Mike Green out of Marshall, I won't be surprised. And I have to look at his contract, but I think the Bills might be offering to trade certain players that they just signed this season, to be honest.
Wait, you're taking Mike Green? You're taking Mike Green to Buffalo?
I'm taking Mike Green to Buffalo because he's the best edge available. And I'll tell you what, there's nobody as explosive like him, bro. Go watch him at the Senior Bowl. He was
I like him.
He was ripping people right, left and right, and he was ripping. Like him. In fact, he was ripping against offensive linemen that had top end first round grades too. That's what he was doing.
He's not even on their list of needs, but I like it. I'm not even gonna tell you what Buffalo needs. We got Buffalo taking Mike Green at 30. Now on the clock. I hate to be picking for this team, just because they're so studly. But it is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs, who narrowly missed out on a three-peat. Not really narrowly, but their greatest need is offensive tackle, defensive tackle, and tight end.
I would just say whole offensive line. Just their whole offensive line.
Yeah, really. Yeah, and this one's a tough one, but man, on that note, needing a whole offensive line, I'm gonna go Tyler Booker out of Alabama to the Kansas City Chiefs at 31.
I knew you would. Yeah, I could see that.
I just don't like anybody.
Happening.
I don't like anybody below him. I was looking at some other names. They've got the guard Donovan Jackson, you know him well at Ohio State. Ursery out of Minnesota, not really sold on him as there. Connerly out of Oregon. I take Tyler Booker to the Kansas City Chiefs at 31.
I like Tyler Booker.
For the Super Bowl.
I like Tyler Booker, first of all, in that scenario. maybe in the later first round if he's going to be a first round pick. But I just don't think the position itself needs to be addressed in the first round. But there was another guy you could have went with, because I think tackle is a need for them as well, because they need a whole offensive line.
Yeah, but
they got destroyed by the Eagles. I like Gray Zabel, by the way. He kind of might be a guy in that Kansas City team that might do something.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at him, but I think Tyler Booker, playing in the SEC, coming from a team like Alabama, I don't know. I just think that it's more, maybe he's more pro ready. Zabel's still on my board. Don't get me wrong. All right, moving on. Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl champions. EAGLES. Eagles. All right, Ali, finish out our first round. Who you taking? Their greatest needs are safety, defensive tackle, and linebacker. No matter what they're going to take, the rich are getting richer because they are loaded.
Well, say what their needs were one more time.
Safety, defensive tackle, and linebacker. I think the pick is obvious, but I'm going to see if you take them.
And what is the best available safety right now?
Malachi
really?
starts.
Safety? Don't they have two guys?
Yep. I mean, I'm just going off of what the internet says, the interweb that they need.
Guy out of Georgia, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's the best available safety. I just don't know if that's their need, because they have Cooper DeJean over there. You know what I'm saying?
He's a cornerback.
I do think corner. I think they know he's a safety. Cooper DeJean's a safety.
No, Cooper DeJean. No, he's cornerback.
I'm pretty positive he's a safety. I could be wrong though. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought he was their safety. They have him listed as a defensive back, but I think he plays safety.
No, I'm almost certain. Let me look.
Okay, I may be wrong.
I'm almost positive.
I don't want to argue.
I'm 95%. I'm 95% positive.
Okay,
he plays. Yeah, he's cornerback. He's cornerback.
I'm gonna go with obvious. You know who it's gonna be? The best safety available.
Yeah,
it's gonna be Malachi Starks. Yeah, I just don't know if I see him dropping this far. I would say if I had to pick a fit, I kind of think a guy you took super early was a better fit, and that's Shamar Stewart. I think Shamar Stewart makes sense over for the Philadelphia Eagles. But that finishes our first round.
Yeah, I'm gonna real quick. I'll recap it. We'll get some thoughts by Bullet Bob and Ali. You can close it out. We got number 1 to the Tennessee Titans, Cameron Ward. Number 2 to the Cleveland Browns, Shedeur Sanders. Number 3 to the New York Giants, McMillan Teteroa. I don't know how to say it. Wide receiver out of Arizona. Number 4, we had Abdul Carter going to the Patriots. Number 5, we had Travis Hunter going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 6, we had Ashton Jeanty going to the Raiders. Number 7, we had Tyler Warren going to the Jets. Number 8, we had Mason Graham out of Michigan going to Carolina. Number 9, we had Will Campbell, tackle out of LSU, going to the Saints. Number 10 to the Chicago Bears, Shamar Stewart out of A&M. Number 11 to the San Francisco Giants, a zone blocking specialist in Kelvin Banks Jr. Number 12 to Dallas Cowboys, Will Johnson. Number 13 to the Miami Dolphins, we had Tate Ratledge. Number 14 to the Indianapolis Colts, we had Jihad Campbell. Number 15 to the Atlanta Falcons, we had Jahdae Barron. Number 16 to the Arizona Cardinals, we had an Ohio State great in Emeka Egbuka. Number 17 to the Cincinnati Bengals, we had the edge out of Georgia, Michael Williams. At number 18 to the Seattle Seahawks, the wide receiver, the 4th and 13 himself, Matthew Golden. Number 19 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we had Jalen Walker. Linebacker out of Georgia. Number 20 to the Denver Broncos, we had Luther Burden III, wide receiver out of Missouri. At number 21, we had Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle out of Oregon, going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. At number 22, we have Los Angeles Chargers taking Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan. At number 23, to the Green Bay Packers, we had Tyleek Williams, at defensive tackle at Ohio State. Number 24, Minnesota Vikings select Kenneth Grant out of Michigan, defensive tackle. At number 25, we have Houston Texans replacing Laramie Tunsil with Armand Mimbu, the tackle out of Missouri, who at 332 pounds ran a 4.940. At number 26, to the Los Angeles Rams, we had Josh Simmons, the tackle out of Ohio State, coming off an injury, but good pick at 26. To number 27, the Baltimore Ravens get even richer at safety with Nick Emmanwori out of South Carolina. Number 28, the Detroit Lions. Oop, it's baseball season, guys. The Detroit Lions take Darius Alexander, the defensive tackle out of Toledo. At number 29, we got Washington taking James Pierce Jr., the edge out of Tennessee. At number 30, we got Buffalo Bills taking Mike Green, the edge out of Marshall, who is everybody's darling in this draft. At number 31, we got Tyler Booker going to the Kansas City Chiefs, offensive guard out of Alabama. And to round out the first round, we had Malachi Starks dropping to 32 to the Philadelphia Eagles, safety out of Georgia. What you think?
Where did before we do that real quick, where did Mikael Williams go?
Cincinnati Bengals.
That's what I thought. Okay, go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry.
That's okay. This is fun picking these, but I honestly think that for some reason there's going to be a lot of trades in this first round. I just think there is. It's just there's some good players, but I don't see 32 starters. Okay, I see a lot of teams. I think some teams are going to reach. I think they're going to move up, trade, and they're going to reach for some players. I mean, the Dolphins last few years, when they've had number 13, they've gotten lucky. People have dropped them. Tunsil's a good example. When we drafted him, he dropped all the way to 13. He's supposed to be a top 5 pick. We got him at 13. I mean, I can see some players dropping. I can see a lot of teams trading down, some trading up. Some are going to get desperate. They're going to be worried that somebody's going to disappear that they want. You know, it happens every year, but I think it's going to happen a lot this year. It's just not a lot of. Well, the quarterback position is one of them. There's no overwhelming. Hey, this is guaranteed gonna take you to the Super Bowl start. And then, like you said, the running backs. There's not a lot of running backs in this draft. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. Huh? What'd you say?
I was going to say, I was shocked. We only had 2 quarterbacks and 1 running back go in the first round. I think that's kind of impressive, personally, because I think it ends up being a lot different.
And do I think Miami? I mean, I'm hoping they would take somebody like that. That guy it runs a 4.970. He weighs over 300 pounds, and he's got an 88 rating in run blocking. I mean, a couple of years ago when we ran the football, we destroyed people. When you can run, your quarterback, the pass blocking doesn't have to be as good. And Tua is unbelievable at play action, but I just think there's going to be a lot of shakeup. It's not going to go like they think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is that type of draft where you have first round talent dropping into the second round for whatever reason. And I think that could happen. I think what I do kind of expect to happen, it did play out in this draft. I do think there is going to be a run on edge in the first round, because there's too many that are really close in talent when it comes to the edge position at being the top end. And then after you get through that talent, there's kind of a drop off before you pick it back up again, right? So you look at the positions, the 2 that I think are going to be the most important people are going to try to jump up to get. I think it's going to be corner, because there's not, outside of Jahdae Barron and Will Johnson, I don't really think there's another corner that I would be considered really looking at until you get further into the second round, like the bottom half of it, right? There's a guy like Darian Porter, which I hope Miami gets him in the second round, because I like Darian Porter. I think he's going to be somebody in this league. But there's not a lot of corners in the first round that you could say, I can just wait on it. You know, there's not a lot. There is a drop off there. Safety outside of the 2, Starks, Neiman Worry, that's another position people might be jockeying for, because, you know, there's only 2. And then after that, you may have a couple guys maybe in the third round, you start looking for people there. defensive tackle, there's a lot of defensive tackles in this draft. So that's not one that I think people are going to run on early. But edge could be, because outside of the ones we had, there's like 5 guys total. And then after that, there's a big drop off before it starts making sense to the round that you're picking in. But I do think there's going to be trades up and down this draft. It's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, there's some players I
Awesome.
like.
Well-
I mean, you've got, what is it? You were talking about safeties earlier. I think one that'll probably go a lot sooner than people think is that safety out of Penn State.
What's his name? Winston?
Jalen Reed.
Jalen Reed. That one? Yeah, I like the other guy too. I like the other guy also.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be a second round pick.
You know who I also like? I know it sounds like I'm biased, but no, I've watched a lot of tape on this guy. Latham Ransom. I think he's kind of underrated, but he runs like his hair is on fire. Really, really good stuffing the run, box safety. But I also think he's, underrated in coverage. I kind of see him as a late second round pick. People might be getting him earlier, even though he's rated to be maybe in the 3rd or 4th round. I could see him jumping in the 2nd really easily. Yeah. All right.
Well, that is 4th and 10U first annual, our inaugural mock draft here on our YouTube show. We had a great guest in Bullet Bob. Had some questionable picks. I'm sure you in the chat are going to have some fun with picking apart our draft. But guys, this is fun, man. I'm looking forward to the 2nd round. Really excited to do it with the both of you. And Bullet Bob, thanks for your input and your insight. And Ali, close this down, man.
All right, make sure everybody hits the like button, turn on notification bell, and subscribe if you're new. This is part 1 of our 4th and 10 use mock draft. And till next time, y'all have a good night.